The phone buzzed on Jasmine Crockett's desk. It wasn't just a call. It was a signal. Not an opportunity. A setup. The invitation came from The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. To most people, that's a chance to smile, joke, maybe score a few applause lines. But Jasmine? She saw it for what it really was. A stage dressed up as entertainment, but built like a battlefield. This wasn't a regular interview. It was live, unfiltered. And that meant one thing: no edits, no takebacks, no mercy. Bennett didn't look up from his laptop when he spoke. "This isn't C-SPAN, Jazz," he said flatly. "This is where real people become memes." Jasmine leaned back in her chair, expression steady. She wasn't shocked. She was ready. "They don't want a conversation," Bennett continued. "They want a clip, a soundbite, something they can spin in 15 seconds. She didn't flinch. "I'm not going there to play," she said. "I'm going there to not be edited." The room went quiet for a beat. The decision was made. The green room wasn't green. It was beige, overlit, too quiet, too clean. A room designed not to soothe, but to sterilize. Jasmine sat alone on a faux leather couch, her phone face down. No scrolling, no tweets. She wasn't there to be distracted. She was there to listen. Outside the door, the hallway buzzed with coded chaos. Clipboards shuffling, floor managers whispering, headsets crackling. Then came the voice, low, controlled, and unmistakably nervous. "If she goes off script, cut to commercial. No risks tonight, not after last week." Jasmine heard it, every word. She didn't flinch. She didn't shift in her seat. She just breathed, deep, steady, ready. They thought she was waiting. But Jasmine Crockett was watching, calculating, listening, and she wasn't afraid. The door opened with a practiced knock. A young woman stepped in. Black jeans, headset, clipboard tight to her chest. She smiled, but it was the kind of smile that came with conditions. "Hi, Congresswoman Crockett. I'm Dana, your segment producer tonight," she said, voice brisk but sweet. "We'll head backstage in 10. Just a heads up, Stephen might open with a few light jabs. You know, viral clips and stuff." Dana laughed softly, like it was all just harmless fun. Then added, almost as an afterthought, "Let's just keep the tone light tonight. You know, for the vibe." Jasmine didn't laugh. She tilted her head slightly, measured, then smiled. Cool, composed, but unmistakably sharp. "I don't respond well to traps," she said, her voice soft, but with steel behind it. Dana blinked. Her grip on the clipboard tightened just a little. Then she nodded, eyes flicking to the floor. "Noted." Stephen Colbert smiled as she walked onto the set. The crowd clapped, the lights flared, the music hit its upbeat cue. He leaned back in his chair, flashing his signature charm. "Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett," he said with a grin. "You've gone more viral this week than a cat on a skateboard. 12 million views. Impressive. Should I be worried you'll fact-check me live?" Laughter rolled from the audience, but Jasmine didn't flinch. She leaned in, her smile cool and steady. "Only if you lie." That line cut clean through the lights and laughter. The crowd clapped again, this time not as a reaction to a joke, but as a response to truth. It wasn't funny. It was honest, and they could feel it. Stephen shuffled his blue cards. He tried to pivot, tried to steer things back to safer ground. "But let me ask you this," he said casually. "Some critics say your approach is a little too personal, too confrontational. That maybe your tone is the problem." Jasmine didn't blink. She sat still, back straight, voice calm, too calm for what she was about to say. "When I raise my voice," she said, "they call me angry. When I speak softly, they say I lack passion. When I get specific, they say I'm attacking." She paused, just long enough to let the room feel it. "So, tell me, who gets to decide what tone is acceptable? Me, or the people who've never had to fight to be heard?" The crowd fell silent, not out of offense, out of reflection. Someone near the back whispered, "Damn." Jasmine wasn't ranting. She was dismantling a lie, calmly. Stephen tried to salvage it. "Aren't you worried that your tone might alienate moderate voters?" Jasmine leaned back slowly. She crossed her arms, then delivered the line like it wasn't a punch, but a mirror. Truth doesn't care about comfort. It just shows you the mirror. And just like that, the room stopped. The band didn't play. No one laughed. Even the applause sign stayed dark. Colbert blinked once. He looked off camera, seeking help or a reset. But it was too late. He'd lost the rhythm. Jasmine had taken the room, not with volume, not with rage, but with something far more dangerous to the system: clarity. The commercial break hit like a breath they hadn't been taking. Backstage, the energy shifted. No more laughs, no more fake calm. Just static tension. Dana burst through the hallway, headset askew, clipboard pressed tight against her chest. She wasn't smiling anymore. "Congresswoman," she said, voice tight, breath fast, "we're going to shorten your segment just a bit. Timing issue." Happens all the time. Jasmine didn't blink, didn't even ask why. She already knew. This wasn't about time. This was about control. This was about editing truth in real time. She tilted her head slightly, studying Dana like a surgeon studies a tumor. "Say what you mean." Her voice was calm, deadly calm. Dana hesitated, just for a beat, then looked away. That was all Jasmine needed. Dana's lips parted, ready to launch into another polished excuse. But Jasmine stopped her with 5 simple words. "Don't say it's the timing. Say it's the content." The words dropped like a hammer in velvet, soft in tone, devastating in truth. Dana froze, not because she was caught off guard, but because she was seen. Jasmine didn't raise her voice. She didn't get emotional. She simply revealed the quiet lie hiding inside Dana's script. If the truth doesn't fit the frame, they crop it. If it burns too bright, they dim the stage. She knew this game, but what they didn't know was that she came prepared not to play it. Jasmine stood up. No outburst, no tears, no grand monologue, just one line, calm, clear, and unshakably firm. "You've got enough tape to work with." And then she walked. She didn't rush, didn't glance back, didn't wait for permission. Colbert sat frozen in his chair. His fingers twitched slightly, but his mouth said nothing. The cameras didn't follow her. They stayed fixed on the desk, as if refusing to acknowledge what had just happened. But silence couldn't contain it. The room had felt the shift. The world would feel it next. They thought they controlled the story. Backstage, the producers edited in real time. The main broadcast was cut. Jasmine's walk-off? Gone? Her final words? Snipped. All that aired was a softened version, where truth sounded like small talk. But someone forgot something. The live stream on YouTube didn't cut. It stayed running. For 45 seconds, the truth stayed live. And that was enough. A journalism student in Minneapolis caught it, clipped it, posted it. No filters, no commentary. Just Jasmine rising, her voice steady. "You've got enough tape to work with." Within an hour, 300,000 views. By nightfall, 2 million. By the next day, over 30 million. They tried to control the narrative, but the internet had already written its own. She didn't slam the table. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't throw accusations. She just stood up and walked. And we watched. We didn't watch because it was dramatic. We watched because it was real. This moment wasn't about politics anymore. It was about integrity. It was about what happens when someone refuses to be edited, muted, or molded. The clip spread like wildfire. But it wasn't the media pushing it. It was teachers, nurses, mothers, veterans, young black girls watching from their bedrooms. And the hashtags began to rise. Number let her speak. Number she didn't flinch. Not just trending, not just viral. It was collective memory in motion. The official statement came quickly. Due to timing adjustments, the Colbert team said, Congresswoman Crockett's segment was shortened. But no one bought it. Not the audience, not the internet, not even casual viewers who stumbled onto the clip. Because the live stream told a different story. Because the silence in the room had already said too much. Because when someone walks away with outrage, the truth rings even louder. Jasmine was never supposed to be the story. She was meant to be the edited guest, the polite soundbite. Instead, she became the headline, the catalyst, the spark. From silenced guest to movement igniter. She didn't ask for attention. But integrity? It doesn't wait for permission. The clip didn't just go viral. It became a mirror, and people started looking into it. Not to see Jasmine, but to see themselves. They began sharing their own edited-out moments. A teacher silenced for questioning the school board. A black employee passed over in meetings, over and over again. A daughter who kept her truth quiet at the dinner table because it's not the right time. Suddenly, this wasn't just her walkout. It was ours. She walked, but they, the ones who tried to mute her, they're the ones who got exposed. People weren't just reposting the clip. They were reclaiming their stories. And that's when a movement stopped trending and started rooting itself into something permanent. The phone rang at 6:42 a.m. It wasn't press. It wasn't a campaign donor. It was a voicemail from Pittsburgh. A woman, her voice trembling but steady. "I'm 64 years old," she said. "I've spent my whole life being told to lower my voice, just to keep my job. Last night, you didn't just speak for yourself. You spoke for me." Jasmine sat in silence, holding the phone to her chest. Not crying, not smiling, just still. Because in that moment, she knew. This wasn't a meltdown. This wasn't a stunt. This wasn't even about politics anymore. It was a mirror, held up to a system, and to everyone who had ever been told to shrink. And for once, the mirror didn't crack. It reflected back. Jasmine didn't go on CNN. She didn't sit with MSNBC. She chose a podcast, small, unfiltered, honest. 2 young black hosts, 1 mic, no makeup, no teleprompters, just raw space for truth. They asked her, "What were you thinking in that moment? When you stood up?" Jasmine leaned toward the mic. Her voice was steady. No notes, no rehearsal. "They said I walked out," she said. "But I didn't. I walked through their expectations, through their scripts, through the frame that couldn't hold the weight of truth." She paused. "I didn't leave to protest. I left to protect. Not just myself, but the message." And just like that, millions heard her, even louder than the night she walked off stage. Jasmine didn't launch a campaign. She didn't hold a press conference. She didn't cash in on the moment. There were no hashtags on her shirts, no slogan rollout, no Jasmine for Senate banners in the background. She just kept working, writing bills, meeting with organizers, showing up for the people who don't get microphones. But still, something changed. She had left behind something bigger than applause, something more lasting than virality. She left behind a living example of what it looks like when a woman stands up without permission. and tells the truth anyway. No drama, no tantrum, just clarity. And for a generation watching, that was enough. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is leave. Not in anger, not in defeat, but in truth. Jasmine Crockett didn't walk away because she was weak. She walked because the room could no longer hold the weight of her honesty. And in life, there will be rooms like that. Workplaces, families, relationships, systems that ask you to shrink just to stay. When that happens, you don't owe them your silence. You owe yourself your voice. And if you have to choose between fitting in and telling the truth, choose truth. Every time. If this story made you pause, if it reminded you of your own silence, or inspired you to speak your truth, subscribe to AZ Exposed. This isn't just a channel. It's a place for stories that weren't meant to be edited, for voices that refuse to be cropped out. Click that subscribe button, because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more truth, and truth lives here.